Hi, welcome to this video. I'm really super excited to start this new series of videos on SQL. Before going into SQL, let's understand the few concepts which help us to understand the SQL better. This video is especially for beginners or whoever is new to SQL. In case if you know the basics, the DB concept, you can skip this video. We will look at the overview and we will not be covering any topic in depth because our main goal is to learn the SQL. This is just a foundation step for learning the SQL. The first important terminology we will be using is data. What exactly the data means? Any fact that can be recorded is called as data. For example, your name, your Gmail ID, or phone number, location, all these are data. And then there is one more term, and there is one more term which is information. Once you collect all the data from the user, you have to process it to get the meaning out of whatever the raw data you have collected. That is termed as information. One important thing is information is completely dependent on data, but data is not dependent on information. Okay. Now we are talking about data, information, and everything is fine. But where do we store this data? Where to store? It is a big question. Uh, in good olden days, when we were in schools, especially when you go and buy any book from the library, they used to have a entry with your name, class, and then which book you have taken, when you have to return the book. All these were maintained in a book. But in real time, let's take the Amazon website or any Flipkart website, any e-commerce related store. They can't have a book and store the information because it is all digital. So having a book and storing the data is like, oh, not a recommended, but it is not possible to do so. So where do we think we can store this data? The data is stored in database. Database is nothing but a collection of interrelated data. The few examples of databases are MySQL, Oracle, SAP HANA, and then Microsoft SQL Server. All these databases are relational database. What does that mean? In relational database, you will be storing the information in the form of tables. This is the relational in this relational database, there are few terminologies. Say suppose this is the name. Okay, this is the name column, ID, age, and then location. This whole, this entire whatever the region I mark is called as row. And this vertical region which I'm marking now is being termed as column. Age is a column, location is a column, ID is a column, name is a column. This individual blocks, let me take. These individual blocks are being termed as cell or field. store the data in this relational DB in the form of tables, you have to access the data. Once you store the data, your job is not over. You have to query the data, obtain it, and then if there is any mistakes, you have to modify it. And if there are a few unwanted or invalid records, you might have to delete it. All this can be done in our relational database or any other databases. We have one more term that is called DBMS, Database Management System. This is nothing but a software designed to store, retrieve, define, and manage the data in the database. As a user, what I will be doing is I'll be storing the data, retrieving, updating the data. We need not to concern about how and where the data is stored. DBMS will take care of all these tasks. DBMS is a technology for creating and managing the DBs. During 1970s, this is just an information. It was very difficult to manage the DBs using the programming language. In 1980s, what happened? They came up with the relational DB, which became very popular, followed by the object-oriented DB in the 1990s. Most recently, today, NoSQL DB is something which is, becoming more popular because of the growth of the internet and the need for the faster speed and processing of the unstructured data. NoSQL DBs comes under non-relational database. We will be learning relational database. The process of extracting the information from the DB. As a user, you have to write a query and then extract the data from the database. This process is called querying the DB. And then now when I'm communicating with you, I'm using a language which is English. The same way, when I want to query the data in the DB, you need to have a query language. The most of the DBs can understand a language called as SQL, Structured Query Language. In next videos, we will be learning this language. I'm really super excited for this. This is the very basic overview about the concepts which are required for us to learn the SQL. In the next video, we will be starting to create the tables, insert the data, and then query the data from the table. So I'm really super excited for that. In this video, let's try to set up our DB. We will be using SQL Server. So you just have to type SQL Server Management Studio. The first link which points to Microsoft. So just right click and then open in new tab. On the right side, here it is, download SQL Server. Just right click and then again open in new tab. You just scroll down. We will be using Express Edition. So you just go and download now. Along with that, we need this SQL Server Management Studio. You have to download this as well. you have to install SQL Server Management Studio also. You just run the .exe file which you have just downloaded. Have to accept the license and run this .exe file. You will be having the SQL Server Management Studio setup. Welcome to this video. In this video, we will be learning how to create a table and then add entries into this table. We'll try to update entries in the table, and then we'll read the data from this table. Instead of going directly into the database and creating the table, first we will try to understand what are the columns we need and then what kind of data we will be storing. For that, I'm taking a simple example where I want to create a table with the student information. Okay, I will be having student ID, student name, age, grade, and this is the information about teacher ID and then teacher name, subject, and then subject ID. Okay, there will be few more columns, but for our understanding purpose, I am keeping it very simple. You can extend the number of columns, you can reduce the number of columns. That is not a issue. So first we'll understand, we will be having student ID. See what kind of data you will be storing. So you can have either numeric or alphanumeric, but in our case, let's have numeric ID. Let's say 1, student ID is 1. Student name is, let's take Gagan. Age is 15. Grade is 9th standard. And then teacher ID, let's keep it as 101. Teacher name is Uma. And then subject is, let's say, maths. Subject ID is, okay, 1001. Okay, let's take the second student name and then let's I'll just add the entries. Age is 15 again, class is 9. Teacher ID will be same, 101, again same name, same subject, same subject ID. These two from the same class. Let's add one more entry. And in real world, we will not be having 8 columns. We will be having 15, 20, 30 columns. But there is some problem with this, the way I have written the table. There is a problem with this. The problem is, if you observe, all this data is actually repeated. Even this subject information is being repeated. In real world, you will not be having all the entries in single table, right? How to get rid of this repeated information and have a good solution for this? There is a process for this which is called as normalization. In simple term, normalization means when we have a use table, we would like to break it into a like 2 or 3 tables. This is the simple definition about the normalization. There are different normal forms like first normal form, second normal form. But for this session, we will not be going into a deep about this normalization because we want to create the table. So we've understood that we can't have it in one table for all the columns. So we will be breaking this one table into 2 to 3 tables. For now, let's take student ID, student name, age, grade. Okay. We will be having one more teacher ID, teacher name. Okay, I have just repeated the entries in the other page. So what is this data type? What is this data type? It is having a numerical data. So it is integer data type. What is this value is all about? It is having a string value. So we can have varchar as the data type and then give whatever the number of characters. So we will be giving 15. Okay. What about age? Again, it is an integer value. It is a numerical value. Grade, grade again is an integer value. So this is the column name we will be giving, and then this is the data type for that column. Okay, we want to create a table with these columns: student ID, student name, age, grade, and then these are the data type for that table. For now, let's go and create this table. Later we will create this teacher table as well, and if you see, there is no link between this table and this table. How we will get to know which teacher is teaching which subject? So we have to do all that, but we will, there is a concept called as primary key, foreign key, all that, but we will take step by step. For now, we will just create a simple table, and then we will see all this primary key, foreign key, when it will be used and all that. We will be using Microsoft SQL. After the installation, when you just type SQL, you will be able to see Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. Just double click on that. Okay. So you will be having an instance for 2019, but I will be connecting to SQL 2008. So I'll just connect it, and I'm just giving only Windows authentication. I'm just trying to connect. There won't be much difference. There won't be much difference in the way we write the query. So I'm just using 2008 version for this, and then just click on the databases. It will be empty, but I have already created two databases. One is SQL Practice and then SQL SP. What you have to do is, okay, just try, just give new query. This is the place where you will be creating the, writing all the queries. So, and then now just right click on this. There is an option. One second, let me try to zoom it if possible. Okay, only this part will be zoomed. Okay, fine. Just right click, and then there is an option for new database. Just click on that. After that, you can just give any name whichever you want. I'll just give SQL Basic. Yeah, good. I'll just do the owner, let it be default. I'll just give OK. Okay, the database is already created. For some reason, the recording was stopped, and I continued, and then I created the table and inserted the data. Everything was done, but now it is not recorded. So let's, I will create the table. The For creating the table, we will be using create statement. Create, what is the, which object you want to create? We want to create table, and then you have to give the name for that table. You have to specify on which database you want to create the table. So we decided to create a table on SQL Basic database. So just give SQL Basic, and then dot DBO dot and then table name student. This is one way to create the this is one way to specify the name, but the other way is instead of giving DBO, just remove it and then let's have this 2 dot dot. That would be sufficient. So and then just open the bracket. Let me check the recording. Oh, looks fine. We have decided the column names as well. Student ID and then the data type which we decided integer and then student name varchar 15. Then age is integer again. So let's make some error. Instead, I don't want to give comma here and see what happens if we don't give comma. And then grade integer and then we'll close the bracket. See, everything else is fine. At the grade, it is showing us in the red color mark. Okay, and when you just hover on this, it will say incorrect syntax near grade. So it is trying to say there is some syntax error, please fix it. But we'll just go ahead and then run it. Okay, it is saying incorrect syntax near grade. So since we know what is the syntax error, let's go ahead and put this comma. Just observe, the moment I put the comma, this red color mark disappears. Okay, now it is saying everything is fine. There is no red mark or anything. We can just go ahead and execute. Yes. Yes, now we have actually created the table student under SQL basic database. But here it is not yet appeared. We'll just go ahead and refresh this tables list. Now the student table is appearing. It's displayed. Let's go ahead and see what are the columns present in this table and is there any data, is there any content in this table. So for that querying purpose, we will be using select statement. So just write select. What do you want to select? You can select individual column like student IDs to S name, but I want to select all the columns. So instead of giving individual column, I'll just give star. Star means it will select all the columns which are present in the table. Now you have to select from where you want to select. Just give from table name. For that you have to specify on which database the table is present. Okay, SQL. See, the moment you started to type SQL, it is displaying what are the names, like names with the what are the DB names with the SQL. So we have created under SQL basic. Select it, and then dot dot again give the table name student. Okay, cool. Now we'll execute. Okay, we can see here student ID, S name, age, grade. The column names are present, but there is no data in this table because we have only created the table. We have not yet entered any data into this table. So why can't we just go ahead and enter few entries into this table? For that, we will be using insert statement. Insert into. Now I will just I'll just select this. I'll just copy this. Insert into this table, and then what you want to insert? You want to insert values. This is the syntax actually, and then just give the values. Student ID is 1, name is, we decided on Gagan, and then 15, 9th grade. I'll just execute this. For the string values, you have to enclose in the single brackets. Otherwise, it will give you an error. So I just gave in the single quote. Okay, one row is affected. Why can't we just query this table and see what are the data which present in this table? See, student ID is 1, Gagan 15, 9. This is the entry which this is the entry we just made into this table. I'll just go ahead and enter few more entries to this table. I have just added 2 more rows into this table. We will be learning select statement in detail in the upcoming section. Let's say I got a requirement wherein I want to enter one more column called as location in this student table with the data type varchar, let's say 50. Okay, this is the column which I want to enter. One solution is I can drop this table, like delete this table and then recreate one more table with this column. Okay, for our situation, this is fine because we hardly have any like 3 records. We can enter again. But in the real world, we will be having millions data in the table. So we can't just go ahead and drop the table and recreate it. It is not at all recommended. So is there any workaround for this? Yes, we have something called as alter command, which we can use and add any additional columns which you want to add in the existing table. You don't have to drop the table or anything. But the moment you add one more column here, for the existing rows, there will not be any value. Let's see what is that value also, like what exactly this will be having. Will it affect any of this column? It will not, any new column which you add, it will not be affecting the existing column, but the value will be null for this existing values, sorry, existing records. Okay. We will try to add that location, we will try to add the location column into this existing table. Alter is the command which we will be using. Alter, what you want to alter the table. And you have to specify the table name. Just copy and then here. What you want to add? Add the location. Location is the column name. Varchar 15. Sorry, we decided on 50. Okay. And then we'll execute. Okay, it is successful. Now let's again query the table. Okay, now you can see there is no like values in this column. It is all null values. Say suppose I have to update this null with the valid entry. How to do? Whatever we have learned so far is create and then select and then what else? Insert and then alter command. These are the 4 statements which we have learned. But for this purpose, I want to update the value. So create won't work. Create is used for creating. Select is only used to select the data. It won't alter anything. Insert. Okay. In case if I use insert statement, it will add one more column to this. whatever the entries we have, it will add one more. Let me take the pen. Okay, what insert will do is it will add one more entry to the existing table, but it will not be all updating this value. Alter, which we have already seen, it is used to add the column. It won't have alter is used to enter columns, like to add the columns, but it won't be doing anything with the data itself. So is there any other workaround for this? We have something called as update statement. Okay, the syntax for this update statement is you have to use this command update, and then you have to specify what is the value you want to set. Say suppose set location is equal to, let's take location is equal to ABC, just for example. And then you have to say update what? Update the table name. You have to specify the table name. Set. Now the most important point in this update command is where condition. Where condition is the most important one. Say suppose if you miss to add where condition, what this let me erase it. What this query does without the where condition is, whatever the location is, it just updates all the column with the ABC. ABC. You know, like all the rows will be updated with the ABC value. But if you say, but when you specify where student ID equal to 1. Now, with the where condition, what happens? Wherever the student ID is 1, only that entry will be updated with ABC. The others will be having null. Okay, now let's go ahead and see the example by writing the query. So just write update what you want to update. Let's take this table name, update this table, and then you want to set a value, set location. Location is equal to ABC, where student ID is equal to 1. In this query, what we are expecting is, we are expecting only student ID 1 to be updated. When we run this query, we will be having ABC instead of null, only for the student ID 1. So let's go ahead and execute this query. Okay, one row affected. Yes, instead of location, it would be, instead of location, I would have used address. Now it's okay. Now let me execute this select statement and see what is the value. Okay, here if you see, only student ID 1 got updated. The most important point in the update statement is having a where condition. If you miss the where condition, then the entire table gets updated with the new value. So you have to be very careful when you are executing update statement. task is now to delete the rows in the student table. Like we want to delete all these entries. For this purpose, there are two ways. One is we can use delete command or truncate the table. Okay. In case of delete command, you can actually restrict the number of rows you want to delete by using the where condition. In here, we updated only the student ID 1 by using the where condition. We will look at the where condition in our future sessions. But for now, where condition is used to restrict the number of rows. Okay, you can actually restrict using the where condition. When you specify where condition while deleting the table, it deletes only those many rows. If you don't give the where condition, again the entire data set will be deleted. Okay. Now, in case of truncate, what happens? You can't give any where condition or anything. It just directly truncate all the entries. But the structure of the table will be present. Only like when we created the table in the beginning, how it was, it will just goes back to the same structure. There won't be any entries. You can't restrict the number of rows you will be deleting in the truncate. Let's go ahead and write the query to delete the entries in the table. Close this. Delete from where you want to delete. You have to give the table name. I'll just copy this. Okay. Where condition is again very important. Otherwise, the entire data set will be deleted. So you have to be very careful. Student ID is 1. Now let's execute. Okay, one row is affected. Now just run this query, select star from. We have 2 entries now. Now I want to execute this update command without the where condition. I'm executing the update statement without the where condition. The result what I am expecting is to update all the entries. So this is for this is just to show you guys, without where condition it will update all the entries. So let's go ahead and run this. Okay, 2 rows affected. Now the same thing with the delete statement. Okay, let's execute select star. Okay, see, both the rows got updated. Now let's run this query delete statement without the where condition. 2 rows affected. Let's say select star from. There are no entries. But let me add these entries again. See, one good error. Now when there is one more column which we added, location. So it is saying column name or number of supplied values does not match the table definition. So what we have to add is the location name. First, testing purpose, let me add something. A, B, C, D, F, G. Okay. And one more. Okay. Let me execute. Okay. Like this. These are the entries. Now I want to truncate this table. Truncate table. Then just give the table name. When in case of truncate table, it truncates all this data, only the structure of this table will be available. So let me run this. Cool. Let's execute the select statement once again. I'll just write it here. So let's start from see, the structure is available. Now we have one more command, drop. For that again I'll just run this insert statement. Execute this select statement. Okay, now let's drop this table and see what is the difference between truncate and drop. So let me execute this one. Drop table, table name. This is the syntax. So let me execute. Command completed successfully. Now let's try to run this select query. Invalid object name. That means let's refresh this one. Here the table structure is also not it is deleted. When you run the drop command, what happens? All the structure and data, everything will be deleted. But in case of truncate, only the data will be deleted. At least the table structure will remain. In case of drop, it will delete the table structure as well. Drop and truncate statements, so far in my career I have not used in the real time, because you will never going to drop the tables in your database. Probably you will what you do is you archive the data into the new table, and then you will store all the historic data in one separate table, but you will never going to drop the table. So when you create tables for your learning purpose, probably you end up dropping it. But at least in my career, I have not used this drop and truncate command, at least so far, but not sure in future. Let's summarize whatever we studied so far. The statements which we studied. Let's put one column statements and then description. What is that it does? One line information. Okay, the first statement is select. We just select. The first statement which we saw was select, which helps to retrieve the value. Select statements retrieves. It just selects the data from tables and then insert statement. It inserts the data into the table, like adding a new rows. Inserts the new rows into the table. New rows. And then delete. It deletes rows or entire table. We just saw without the where condition, it just deletes the entire table. So deletes row. Delete rows based on the condition. And then update. It updates again. It updates one or updates the existing row with the new value based on the condition you give, whether it might update one row or two row or the entire table if you miss the where condition. All these statements comes under a category of one. All these statements comes under a category of data manipulation language, DML. If you observe, we are just only selecting the entry. We are not doing any manipulation. But in case of insert statement, we are actually changing the data. Like if say suppose if this is the table which we had only this many entries, we are adding one more row of data into the table with the help of this insert command. With the help of delete command, we might delete this row. With the update statement, with the help of update statement, we might update the existing rows. We are dealing with the data which is present in this table. So we are actually manipulating the data. So probably that is the name we have, data manipulation language. Okay, we'll see the next set of statements which we have learned. The statement is create statement, which is used for creating the objects. It might be creating the objects. It might be table, view, or database, whatever. It is used for creating. And then alter. We just altered the table. We have just added the one more column into it. If you want, you can actually drop the columns also, but that we didn't see. We just only saw the adding the new columns to the existing table. Okay. The next one, drop. This drops the entire table. It just drops the entire table, including the structure. And then truncate. In this case, it only truncates the content, but it truncates the content, but the structure of the table will be available. We're actually dealing with the structure of the table itself. Here we are creating the table. Here we are adding the column. We are not doing anything to the data. Here we are dropping the entire table. Again, we are including the structure of the table. In this case, we are just truncating all the content which is available in the table. These statements are called as statements, comes under a category of data definition language. Previous one was data manipulation language. There are two more statements, which is data control language. This is mainly used for giving access rights or take back the access rights from the user. The commands are grant and revoke. And then there is one more important one, transaction control language. This probably we will end up using because this is a commit and rollback. This is mainly used for it manages the changes made by the DML statements. Say suppose I want to update a table with some values. I just write it, and then what I do is I will begin the transaction. And then after running this command, update command, I'll go and check the database. I'll go and check the table whether all the entries are correctly updated or not. If I feel all these entries are updated correctly, then I will go and do commit. If I feel if there is if whatever the query I have written or there might be something wrong, what I do is I will just roll back this transaction. Probably we should see this example. We'll see. What this rollback does is, if whatever the update statements you have run, it will not be committed. That means whatever it was in the original form, it just goes back, just rolling back whatever the data was before running this update statement. So it is just used for rolling back the transaction. Commit means yes, whatever the update statement I have I have run, it is perfect, just commit it. But in the rollback statement, no, this is wrong, just go back to whatever the original state was. DML, this is what we saw: data manipulation, data definition, data control language, and then transaction control language. So you can use this especially when you are doing the update and delete. I'm just creating the same table again to show what is wrong with this table. I'm just entering this. I'm just running this. Why? Okay, grade is not there. Okay. Okay, I've just entered this 3 rows. Let me select it. Start from. Okay, let's enter some values. Let me copy this again. Copy this and enter some invalid entries. Say suppose we already have one, but I'll again enter some other name. Let's say ABC for now. I'll execute. Okay, 1 row affected. Let's say execute. Okay, it has actually taken this value 1 1. Okay, it's okay, that's fine. Let's again copy this and then give enter. And let's take this value null. Let's give the ID as 5. Okay, 1 row affected without any error. Let's execute this. Okay. Can you observe any, take a moment and then observe there is actually a big problem with this basic table which we have created. The first one is student name. Student name is null. How come person name can be null? It is like this is not the case in the real world. Every individual will be having a name, but here it is actually having a null value, which is incorrect. And then now the second one is student ID 1, student ID 1. We're actually having the duplicate value. If I want to update the location of one student, whom to update? Like the moment 2 persons cannot have a same ID, right? It is like having the same bank account number. If one person withdraws, if one person keep withdrawing and the other person is keep adding it, it will be like a real mess. You can't have a same bank account ID for a 2 person. Same way, here student ID for a 2 different person is same. Like student ID for 2 different students are same, which is again it's not right. So is there a way to fix this problem? Yes, we have something called as constraints. Constraints are the restriction or conditions that are used on the columns of the table. It can be applied only on the columns to preserve the correctness of the data. Just to repeat myself, constraints are the conditions which we will be using on the columns of the tables to preserve the correctness of the data. Now we will see few of the constraints. There is not null constraints. What is this do? When you say S name should be not null, and you try to enter a null value to this column, it will throw an error. So let's go ahead and see this. Let's try to add not null constraint on the column name student name. So how to add that constraint? We're actually this is the syntax: alter table, and then table name, let me copy it, then alter column s name 8R15. You want to do, you have to say not null. Okay, it is saying it will not allow. Let me delete this entry. See, okay, what did I just do? It was giving an error because there was already null value. There was already null value which was present in this table. So it was saying null value. We can't have a null value. So I just deleted that entry, and then I just added this constraint into this table. Now let's um, let's select this. Let's run this command. Okay, now we can't see any null value in this. We can't see any null value in this table. So let's try to enter this value into this table. See, the statement has been terminated. Cannot insert the value null into the column S name. So it is saying that you can't have a null value inside this S name column. So it is actually it is trying to preserve the correctness of the data as without this constraint, we were actually having null values inside a name column, which was not correct. Now, with the help of this constraint, it will not allow us to enter a null value for a name column. So, let's refresh this. Expand this student table. Here you can see columns. What are the columns this table consists of? And then here is the key. As of now, we don't have any primary key, foreign key for this table. See, student ID is having a null. It can take null value, but student name, it is saying it should be not null. Student name, it is having not null. It must be not null value. Now, okay, this is the constraint which we have added. Now, let's see what was the other issue which we had. We were actually having duplicate values. Right? See, the student ID 1 and student ID 1. We cannot have a duplicate student ID for, we cannot have a same ID for two different students, which is incorrect. So let's try to correct this error. by adding the primary key. What is this primary key? Primary key is used for identifying a record uniquely in a table. What happens when you create a primary key constraint on the student ID? One is used to identify this student name Gagan, whatever the information related to the student ID. So when you create a primary key column on the student ID, each individual row will be uniquely identified using the student ID. So that is the definition of the primary key. So let's go ahead and try to create the primary key. Again, we will be using the alter command, alter table student. What are we trying to do? We are trying to add primary key. ID, okay. Try to execute, fail because yes. Okay. Let's see what are the cannot it is throwing an error. Cannot define primary key constraints on nullable column in a table. Okay. What is that? In C, student ID, it can take null value. So first condition for creating a primary key is it should be not null. Okay. First we have to change it to not null. Take the same column and say ID int. Okay, now let's refresh. Now it is not null. Go ahead and try to execute. Let's see if it fails. Yes, it is failing. Create Unix in this statement terminated because duplicate key was found. Exactly, we have a duplicate value. What is that primary key is all about? Primary key uniquely identifies individual row. See, this one row is identifying this Gagan student information. Again, this one is identifying student name ABC. So, this one ID is actually, this student ID 1 is actually pointing to two different student names, student information. So that is the error. So let's delete one of the row. Because we had some command. Let's use it. Here it is. Student ID is equal to 1 and student name equal to ABC. We are only deleting one row. We are keeping one student ID, one row affected. If you want, you can just select and see. Let's start from now we have 1, 2, 3. Let's add primary key. Command completed successfully. Okay. Fresh. See, the primary key is created here. Now let's try to enter again. Student ID as 1 again. Name as ABC, it has to fail. See what happens. Violation of primary key constraint, and it is pointing to this primary key constraint, which is here. This is the one. Cannot insert a duplicate key in object and object student. The duplicate key value is 1. See, this is the one value which is already present in our table. You are trying to insert the same value. It is saying it is a duplicate key. It will not be allowed to enter because since it is a primary key. This is how, with the help of this constraint, we will be preserving the correctness of the data. Now with the help of primary key, you can't have a null values inside a primary key column, which is okay. You cannot have a null values inside a primary key column. Along with that, you cannot have a duplicate values inside a primary key value. One more important concept, foreign key constraint. What is that? It is actually a referential integrity constraint which creates the relationship between the tables. To create a foreign key in one table, it must refer to the another table that should have a primary key. What does this mean? For that, when you want to create a primary, foreign keys are mainly created to establish a relationship between the two tables. Okay? For that, let's create one more table. So far, we have understood the concept of primary key. In this video, let's try to understand about foreign key and how it helps to create the relationship between two tables. Okay. So far, we have just created a simple table and then we try to add primary key, not null constraint, all that. In real world, that is not how you will be creating. Only for the understanding purpose, I had not added any primary key so that we can understand why we need primary key and all that. But in the real world, what happens? When you get a request to create a table, obviously the user will be mentioned about which has to be the primary key and foreign key. All these informations will be mentioned. Let's take the example as usual, our student table. This is the student table. And then we'll have a department table, which will have a department name and then ID. Let's have a student ID, which is integer data type. Student name, usually it will be first name, last name, but let's take only one column. Varchar 15. And then age, that will be again integer. Now we'll have a department ID. Again, integer data type. Let's have only 4 columns, but in real world, obviously this is not the only 4 columns you will be having. You will be having multiple columns, but the concept remains same. Whether you have 15 or 20 or only 4 columns, concept remains same. Okay, now here we'll have department ID with the integer data type and then department name with Varchar 15 again. Okay. Now we have a common column between this table and this table. This will going to be the primary key in this table. This will be primary key in this table. What does this mean? This SID is the column which will uniquely identify the rows in this table. This department ID is the column sorry, department ID is the one which identifies the unique records in this department table. Okay. Now we have to create a link between this table and this table. How can we do that? Somehow we need to create this link between this department ID and then having. Let's see how can we create the link between these two tables. Department ID will be foreign key in this table, which is a primary key in the department table. Department ID is a primary key in department table, but department ID becomes foreign key in the student table. It is the reference. Foreign key is the referential integrity constraint which creates the relationship between tables. To create a foreign key in one table, in our case student, it must refer to the another table that should have a primary key. So we are referring this foreign key to one more table, which is department, wherein this department ID is a primary key. Let's go ahead and try to create this. We already have this table with additional column grade, so we'll use the same table, and let's go ahead and create but we don't have any primary key and foreign key. Why can't we just add this information? I had already created this constraint. For creating the foreign key, we need a reference, which is the department table. So let's go ahead and create the simple department table with primary key as department ID. So let's go ahead and create this department table. The primary key as DID. Let's refresh this. Now I don't think so we have a primary key in this table. Sorry. Okay, we don't have. Let's add primary key to this table. Adding primary key. Can I define primary key constraints on null? Okay, it is still not. First, we should make it as not null. Okay, it is the same issue which we got when we tried to create previously. So I'm just making student ID as not null, and then I'm creating this as primary key. Okay, now we're successful. Now, so far we are having primary key in both the columns. Now we are trying to create the foreign key. Let's go ahead and create it. Student. We have the column. Don't have the column also. Let me add this. Now, alter table. Just give the table name, and we want to add the constraint. Constraint foreign key. Give the name to this constraint fk underscore DID, department ID. We're using department ID, so I'm just giving DID. Then foreign key the column name DID. Now we have to provide the reference from which column this DID column has to be looking at. So let's go ahead and give the reference. I will explain you how this works. Just in just a couple of minutes, we will be seeing how this works. References. Give the table name SQL Basic table name department ID. Now let's go ahead and execute this query. Okay, it is successful. Let's see how it looks. Fresh. It is saying primary key for student ID, same way foreign key for this department ID. This foreign key DID, the name which we had given while creating the foreign key. Why can't we just query this table? Well, student. Then see what is the department ID is having. It is having null. So I just want to change it from null to 1 for the student ID 1. Now we will get an error. Let's see what that error is. Okay, let's read the error. New query. This is the error we have got. The update statement conflicted with the foreign key constraint FKDID. The conflict occurred in the database SQL Basics table DBO department. Okay, and the column DID. See, the moment we have created this reference, when we inserted data into this column, first thing what happens internally is that this DID column goes to this department table and start the moment when we try to run this update statement, which is reference, which is our foreign key DID. Internally, what happens? It goes and checks this table, department table, whether there is a value 1 or not. Actually, there is no value in this table. See, it is actually, we have just created a plain table. There is no entry in this department table. So, we are getting this error. That is the reason why we got this error. There is an update statement conflicted with the foreign key constraint. So, let's go ahead and enter at least one row into this table. I have just written this query. Department, I'm just giving ideas. Let's give 101 and then computer science. We'll just enter the value. Okay. Now we'll set the DID as 101 for the student ID 1. Now we are just running this query again. Now it is actually executed. Now the link has been created between these two tables for this department ID 101. The moment you try to enter one more record without which is not present in this department ID, again it will throw you an error. Let's run for 10 for the student ID 1. It will throw an error again. Statement has been terminated with a foreign key constraint. Okay, now just let's execute this this table 101. We execute these two together. 1 second. Okay, DID 101 present in this table, which is referencing to this DID, which is present in the department table. Okay. Now we'll update one more record with the student ID 2 to again same department. Department, let's enter 102. Again, I want to see the same error. Obviously, the entry is not present. So let's make it 102. And then is the other branch we can give. We'll say maths department. One row inserted. Now when we run this query, is executed. Let's go and see this. Okay, now we are done with foreign key and primary key. Let's see some guidelines when we are creating primary key and foreign key. This is the primary key. Department ID is a primary key in department. So what I'm doing is I'm giving one or two for this another department, which is science. Let's take and see what happens. Okay, it is giving us an error saying violation of a primary key constraint. It is saying cannot insert a duplicate key in the object which is this table name. We got an error which is violation of primary key constraint, and it is saying cannot insert a duplicate key in object department. That means we can't insert a duplicate IDs inside this table. The duplicate key value is 102. So this is already present. 102 is already present. Let's see. Just execute this one. This 102 is already present. You can't have one more 102 with a different name. I hope this is clear. You can't have one more entry with the same department ID, but you can have a department name duplicate. Let's try that. Because department name is not a primary key. Department ID is a primary key. So let's go ahead and make it as CS. Okay, it is completed. Let's execute. It took. Actually, department name is duplicate now, but you can't have a department ID is a duplicate. So that is the first guideline when we are creating the primary key and foreign key. What is that? Primary key cannot have a duplicate value. We just now saw it immediately gives you a primary key violation error. And then the next one is foreign key can have a duplicate values. Okay, let's see this. Foreign key can have duplicate value. Actually, we have already entered these values in the screen. See, this department ID is a foreign key in the student table. It is already having 101 and 101 again. So this can be duplicate, but you are referring to this column as the primary key in this department table. This can't have a duplicate column, but the foreign key can have, because two students can refer to same department. This Gagan and Akash is from the computer science department. That is what we are saying. I hope this point is clear. Primary key cannot have a duplicate value, but foreign key can have a duplicate value. The next point is pretty important, which is very important one. Foreign key value should be a subset of primary key values which you are referring to. The moment you try to enter the we did see, right, the moment when we entered the wrong DID, not the wrong but the department ID which is not present in the department table, it immediately gave us this error, which is I still have it in my screen. Update statement conflicted with the foreign key constraint. That is what I just mentioned in a statement where foreign key must have a reference to the primary key. These are the simple guidelines which we have to follow while creating the primary and foreign key constraint. This is from my side for the primary and foreign key constraint. There are many more constraints available in the SQL, but we have covered only primary key, foreign key, and then not null constraint, whichever was required in our discussion. But in the future session, whenever we require any new concept, we will see all these constraints whenever we require. For this video, that's it from my side. Thank you so very much for watching. If you like this video, please consider subscribing it. Thank you. Hi, welcome to this video. In this video, we will see an extremely important concept in SQL, which is joins. Let's see, why do we need joins? In the real world, the data will be split across multiple tables. For example, I have taken only three simple tables: employee, department, and manager. These three are the tables. Output which I am expecting is employee name from employee table, department ID from department table. So how can I get only employee name and department ID? So there must be some way to join, must be some way to combine employee table and department table to get the desired output. So joins are nothing but combining the data from multiple tables. That is what join is all about. We will be joining employee table and department table to get the employee name and department name. When you combine these two tables, you just can't say, okay, select employee name and department name. You must specify on which column you want to combine. So there has to be a common column between these two tables. If you see in this employee table, we have DID, that is department ID. And in the department table also, we have something called as department ID. This is the key column which we will be using to combine these two tables so that we can get the output employee name and department name. There are four different types of join. One is inner join, left outer join, right outer join, and then full outer join. We will see all this type one by one. So for now, let's go and see inner join. These two are the tables which I have created for this use case. So we have employee table and department table. You can see there is a department ID from employee table and department ID from department table. Now let's write a query and then we will type it. Now I want to select, we want employee name, to write that employee name and department name. These two are the columns which I want. From which table? From the employee table. From employee table. Now we want to do the inner join. So I will be writing inner join. Inner join which table? You have to specify the table name. Inner join with the department table based on the column. So you have to say on employee department ID and department's department ID. So instead of me writing employee dot DID, I will just give an alias to this. Instead of writing employee dot DID, I will just give an alias to this employee table, which is E. And for department, I will just give D. So I will be saying E dot department ID should be equal to D dot department ID. I guess I have chosen the wrong color. It's fine. I hope it is fine. We are just combining with E dot department ID with the D dot department ID. Let's write the query. I want to select E dot employee name on D dot department name from SQL basic, that is the database, dot employee is the table name. I'm just giving an alias as E. We are doing inner join SQL basic dot department D on which column? On E dot DID equal to E dot DID. What exactly this inner join does and what is the output, we will now understand. When we understand with an example, it will be easy for us to recollect. So I'll just run this query, and I have just executed this query, and this is the output I have got. So just pasted the same output over here so that it will be easier for us to compare and then understand this concept. Now, what did we do? We did the inner join between these two tables, employee and department table. What inner join does is it checks employee table and then department table. So if you consider these two as sets, whatever the items which are common in these two sets, only those many whichever is common in these two tables, only those many records will be picked. So here in this case, we are taking employee name and department name. We are comparing based on the department ID from employee table, department ID from department table. So let's go and understand this output. We are just taking employee name, department ID we are comparing with this department ID. So this has a matching with this one. So we are getting IT as output, which is the department of employee name A. Say, the next one is again 2. We have 21. So again IT will be, we're getting IT as the department name for the employee name B. For 22, we have a department name which is HR. That is being written. That's fine. Okay. 23, we have an entry which is finance. Okay, cool. Now 24, we have an entry other. Okay, that is for the employee name E. 21, that is for employee name F. That is here. That is we are getting. For this null value, there is no null entry in this table. Null means not a value. So there is nothing like that in the department table. In the department table, all we have is integer value. So we can't compare null to an integer. This might be an invalid entry. So for now, there is no match between this and any other entries present in the department table. So null will not be picked. Now, with respect to null, what is the value of employee name? G. So we are not getting G as the department name. And the next name is N. N is having department ID 28. So when this checks in this table department, there is no entry for 28 also. That is the reason employee name N is not being picked. So again here N is not being picked. And the remaining is 24 is present other, management and facility 25 and 26. If you check in this department ID, there is no record for 25 and 26. What is the department name for 25 and 26? Management and facility. So management is not being picked, facility is not being picked. So in case of inner join, only the common records which are present in both the tables will be picked. That is what it is happening here. So only those only those rows which are present in both the tables, only those many records are being picked. This is for the inner join. In case of left outer join, what happens? I'll just erase this. We will be specifying left table. So let's take employee as the left table. Left join with the department based on again DID column on DID from employee table, DID from department table. Let's see what will be the output, and then we'll go and see the real output. In case of left outer join, what happens? All the records from this left table will be picked. So what is the names? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, N. So till F we have. G is also picked. But what will be the value for this one? What will be the value for department name? Let's see that. So when once it will pick all the records from the left table, and then it will start fetching the respective department name. 21 as a department name is this is again 21. 22 is HR. Finance is 23. Other is 24. Again we have IT, which is 21. So that is being picked. Now for G, what is the value here? Null. So it will be having null. So it is saying I don't know, because department name, it is not present in this department name table. So it is throwing null. But this, so we have a value null. N is having a department ID 28. It comes here and checks for the department ID 28, which is not present here. So it will be, we will be having null. In case of left outer join, along with the common records, which is an output from the inner join, we will be having additional 2 more records, which is present only in the left table. So that is the difference. In case of inner join, only common elements, common values will be present. In case of left outer join, along with the common entries between the two tables, we will be having the entries, whatever the entries which are present in the left table, we will be having. So let's go ahead and run this left outer join so that we will be able to understand. Instead of inner join, I have just given the left outer join. I'm just executing this. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F along with the G, N, which is having a null value. That is what we saw. You can actually give left outer join or just left join. It works same way. So there won't be any difference between left outer join or left join. It is one and the same. We will see the remaining joins, which is right outer join. We can say right join also. I'm just selecting star. Okay. In case of right outer join, whatever the right table, in our case department, this is left table and this is right table. Everything from this department will be picked. That is what happened. All the entries from department table as being picked, and only the matching records from the employee table is being selected. That is the reason why we have null values for these 25 and 26, because 25 and 26 is not present in the employee table. We have something like 28 and then null in the employee table. To revise, In case of inner join, only the common elements between the two tables will be returned. In case of left join, along with the common elements, you will be picking everything from the left table. In case of right outer join, all the common elements between both the tables plus everything from right table. In this case, department. Now we are left out with full outer join. In this case, first I will run and then I will write it. Outer join, just in case of full outer join, what is happening? All the common records are being picked. Along with that, all the entries from left table, all the entries from right table are being picked. Wherever there is no common value, we are getting it as null value because we don't have a value for G in this department ID. We are getting as null. Same thing with N. We don't have any value for 28. That is the reason why we have null. In case of this facility and management and facility, we don't have any entry in the employee table. That is the reason why we are getting all this null values. So in case of full outer join, it just picks all the records from both the tables. All records from both the tables. This is about inner join, left join, right join and full outer join. Thank you for watching. Please provide your feedback which helps me to make better videos. And if you are new to this channel, please consider subscribing it. Any question? If you have any question, please drop your questions in the comment section. I try to answer them. Thanks a lot. I'll see you in the next session. Thank you.